as you know, I've spent a lot of time in my time around Jerry Jones, so I know what I'm speaking of here. As often is the case, Jerry is missing the point, which has become an exclamation point for the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, Jerry, it was as pure as it looked, and that is the problem. No doubt, Tony Romo has helped Jerry's grandson since Jerry's grandson started playing quarterback in Pop Warner. He's been a mentor. He's been a coach. He's been hands-on with this kid and given this kid expertise and training that maybe very few kids get.
Correct.
Because Tony Romo will make a good coach someday if he so chooses. He'll make a good analyst someday if he so chooses. And this became a, so to speak, pet project for him to bring this kid up to fruition as a junior in high school for him to win a state championship for the Highland Park Scots. And there's no doubt that he has been there every step of the way with John Stephen Jones, the son of Stephen Jones, who is Jerry's son. That's now become the biggest problem, because Tony has become part of the Jerry Jones family. And this has been going on since Tony got there in 2004. So now a kid who is not part of Jerry's family named Dak Prescott has come in, fallen out of heaven into Jerry's lap, and has turned the Cowboys, to my mind, into the best team in the NFC. He's given them the best record in pro football while Tony Romo has been hurt. And now that Tony has been healthy over the last 5 games, Jerry Jones will not back off because he can't help himself. He actually just speaks his heart to the media. And his heart is, as he told us 3 weeks ago, that he would regret it if this team goes on a Super Bowl run and Tony Romo is not part of that run, because Tony is part of Jerry's family. And then last week, he suggested once again, after the loss in New York, that it's very possible that Tony Romo will soon replace Dak Prescott if Dak continues to struggle. I'll know it when I see it, said Jerry Jones, heaping even more pressure on a kid before the biggest game of the kid's life against Tampa at Jerry World on Sunday night football stage, when this was make it or break it for this Cowboy team. I told you last week they needed to win this game, because if they continue to slide, struggle at Minnesota, but win, lose at New York, and then lose to Tampa, that's not the way to go in December. So the weight of the Cowboy world was on Dak Prescott's shoulder pads on Sunday night. And what happened on Saturday, and I went off on Twitter on Saturday afternoon when I first saw the picture of this, but Jerry Jones invited Tony Romo to again sit next to him in his box, the owner's box, at Jerry World as the Highland Park Scots played the state championship game. It's just such a bad look, because it is so glaringly, painfully disrespectful to your rookie quarterback who's about to face on the very same stage the biggest test of his life. Way to go, Jerry. And you can't see the problem with that? It's just such a bad look for the Cowboys. And I loved it that, and by the way, well, could you at least have just asked Tony to sit in any of the other empty boxes? Because I promise you a bunch of them were empty, even though they had, 35,000 people there for a high school football game. There are plenty of box seats available for Tony and his family if you so choose, because you could just pay a little respect to your starting quarterback, Dak Prescott. It just looked so bad to me, and yet I loved it so much that Dak Prescott went out on Sunday night and made Jerry eat every word he has spoken over the last 3 weeks. 32 of 36. Thank you very much. Take that, Jerry Jones. And as Dak Prescott says in his new ad for, Champ Sports, I dare you to doubt me. And that's basically what he was saying to Jerry Jones. I dare you to doubt. Just go ahead and doubt me. And Jerry has doubted and doubted and doubted and ate his words on Sunday night. And I hope he continues to eat his words. And I hope he continues to take Tony along for the ride with him, because it is sickening to me how he has mistreated the rookie quarterback that's given Jerry his best chance to win a Super Bowl since 1995. Thank you very much.
Jerry is absolutely wrong in this instance. There are plenty owners that I'm sure have a relationship. And I'm going to ask you, and I want you to answer this immediately, Skip.
Oh, thank you.
Do you think Jerry Jones loved Tony Romo any more than Mr. Kraft loved Tom Brady?
I don't know that for a fact, but I can't imagine that he does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. Bolin, our owner of the Denver Broncos, John Elway were in the car business dealership together. They ended up, Mr. Bolin got out, John went about his merry way. We know how successful he was in that. But you never saw them out in public. How many times Joe Montana and Mr. DeBartolo were very, very
They
close.
were, yep.
How many times did you see them out in public? What makes this so egregious to me is that he's looking at Tony Romo as the starter. Tony Romo's the backup. How many owners carouse with the backup quarterback? Come on, Jerry. You know how this is going to look. What makes it look so bad and why people question this is because every time they were asking you a question about Dak, somehow you found a way to finagle Tony Romo's name into the discussion. Even though Dak was going on unprecedented runs, he was winning a game in overtime, he was coming from behind in Pittsburgh, whatever he did, you mentioned how good Tony Romo looked in practice, how you couldn't wait for Tony to get back. If you saw the way he looked in practice, the way he was lighting up that defense, oh, that's the old Tony Romo of old. So every time they ask you to praise Dak, somehow you patted Dak on the back, but you praised Tony Romo and what he's been to your organization. That's why people are so like, wow. And it wasn't, think about this, Skip, as great as Dak was playing, and there were stretches he played great. As great as he was playing, he never unequivocally, as he did once he got called to the carpet by one, Troy Aikman, because you know, in Dallas, two players carry more weight in Dallas than Jerry Jones. That's Roger Staubach, who also played quarterback, who also won a Super Bowl, and Troy Aikman. Their words are like the gospel in Dallas. So he's like, Troy said, I can't understand it. Here's a guy that's 11-1, he's playing his butt off, and somehow you still talking about Tony Romo. It was then and only then, because prior to that, he had no filter. Anytime you ask him something about Dak, oh, but Tony Romo, boy, if you see Tony in practice, oh, he looks like the Tony of old. And it would be a disappointment if we went on this run without Tony. So now you can see why people say, hold on. First of all, he's a backup. He's the backup quarterback. What he was and what he used to be, he's not that currently. Dak is the guy that's leading your team to a 12-2 record. Well, at the time they were, 11-2, but now they're 12-2. That's Dak. But you somehow keep you constantly praising Tony. And so the optics of that looks terrible.